Hey, noble ones, Protectorate is back. So, Battle Masters is probably one of the old school board game tabletop war games that I remember the fondest before, even engaging with Warhammer. That was the thing. And I remember playing it when I was like really, really young. If you don't know what Battle Masters is, you are in for a treat. And to be honest, if I can find one in the wild, I will buy it. I don't even care how much it costs. I will buy it. But for those who don't know, let me introduce you to something really, really epic. This is a reaction while providing commentary to the channel The Dungeon Dive. Check them out, watch the video, subscribe, and all the rest. Yeah.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Battle Masters, released in 1992 from Milton Bradley and Games Workshop, sits right alongside HeroQuest. While HeroQuest was the family-focused introduction to dungeon crawling, Battle Masters was the family-focused introduction to Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Look at that, it's glorious.
Designed by Stephen Baker, who would later design Heroescape, along with Space Crusade, and some work on crossbows and catapults, and some of the original HeroQuest expansions.
Incredible.
Battle Masters presents a very simple yet incredibly fun set of wargaming rules, pitting the men of the Imperial Army against the onslaught of the Chaos forces. Inside the massive box are a few deck of cards, 100 quality plastic miniatures, unit bases, plastic combat dice, a few cardboard chits for keeping track of damage and other things.
So these kind of look a little bit like 5th edition, if not even 4th edition, but anyways, 5th edition Warhammer miniatures in the sense that these are monopose. And of course, as we go into 6th edition, 7th edition, and so forth, 8th edition, then the miniatures start having each soldier having his own pose, if you will, and being slightly different. But this was not the time for that just yet. Yet, still, they looked awesome and we freaking loved them.
Some additional terrain hexes, a chunky plastic fortress tower, and a huge 4x5 vinyl battle mat. The presentation of everything is big and bold, with great sculpts and illustrations, and the table presence is totally off the charts. Especially when everything is painted, and I was lucky enough to play with a buddy who had everything done up expertly. Wow. Any kid who owned this back in the day would have been the envy of young gamers everywhere.
Absolutely.
The most interesting thing about Battle Masters is also the most contentious, and that is the deck of battle cards that controls the entire flow and rhythm of the game. In Battle Masters, there is no initiative, and the players don't even get to choose when their units move and attack. While this severely limits tactical and strategic planning, it does create a ton of drama and narrative at the table.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, to be honest. Obviously, after this, we moved on to Warhammer, which was superior as a concept, but this was great.
In Battle Masters, a battle card is drawn from the deck each turn. On these cards are illustrations of the various units. Once drawn, the players can activate the units shown on the card. Activation consists of a move and attack action. It's almost a kind of pre-programmed tactical game because once the cards are shuffled, the entire flow of the game is set. While I understand the hardcore tactical player's argument against this mechanism, for me it's not a problem at all. In fact, it's a huge win because of how this creates interesting drama and narrative at the table.
And at the end of the day, it was fun. That's the most important thing. If you want super highly strategic tactical depth, play Warhammer. In fact, Warhammer 40k even better. But if you want to have a good time with your friends, particularly when we were like in middle school, this was great. It was great. Excellent for what it was designed for.
As an example, during our second game, the Imperial Mountain Knights were all placed far away from the center of the battle along a road. This gave the impression of them being called into battle. The way the deck of battle cards was shuffled only added to this scenario. Most of the activation cards for these units were clumped together towards the bottom of the deck. For most of the battle, they didn't do anything, and this gave the impression that they were very far away. But then, for 6 or so turns in a row, those battle cards were drawn, and the mounted knights came galloping down the road to save the day.
That's awesome.
I love how the randomness of unit activation added to and bolstered this dramatic event. Once activated, movement and combat are simple, and the turns are fast. Most units can only move 1 hex, some can move 2. After moving adjacent to an enemy unit, the attacking unit rolls dice equal to their combat value, usually between 2 and 5 dice.
If I remember correctly, the information was actually, the number of dice and the kind of stuff was actually written on the unit itself, on the base at the back. That's what I remember, but it's been a while.
The dice are marked with symbols for hits, misses, and defense. After hits are tallied, the defender rolls dice equal to their combat value, looking to block those hits. Any hits left over cause damage, and most units can take 3 hits before being wiped out. Each of the 2 armies also has a single special unit, and each of these units is governed by a fantastic little minigame. I absolutely love this part of Battle Masters. Fighting for the forces of chaos is a single Ogre champion unit. The Ogre is controlled by a deck of 6 cards. 3 allow movement, 3 allow an attack.
Look at the Chaos Knights in the background. I freaking love them. So we really enjoyed the Ogre, but I painted him, I remember, with pink skin. A pink skin.
When the Ogre Champion's battle card is drawn, the Chaos player shuffles the deck of 6 cards, draws 1 at a time, and completes the actions in order. This can create some wildly funny and dramatic turns. The Ogre Champion can be filled with rage and hard to control, and so they might flail away 3 times in a row without a target in sight. Or they might perform a heroic feat, deftly moving into battle, attacking, moving and attacking again, plunging into battle with ferocity.
Awesome.
The Imperial army is armed with a massive cannon. When its battle card is drawn, the Imperial player places a cardboard disc on the intended target.
I kind of like the painting job, how we split it in 2 colors like this. It's just that I think I would have done maybe like red and yellow, red and white.
Then they take a stack of similarly shaped discs and shuffle them face down and lay them one by one on hexes, creating the flight path of the mighty cannonball. Then one by one, they reveal the outcome of the target discs. Sometimes the cannonball will fly to its intended target, killing it outright. Sometimes it will bounce along the path, doing splash damage. And sometimes it might stop short. If it stops really short, the cannon can actually misfire, damaging itself. There is a bit of pressure luck involved, and I'm always a fan of that.
Agreed, actually. Believe it or not, even though this is less tactical than the actual Warhammer Fantasy rules for using war machines, it was more fun.
Each of these 2 special units adds a ton of flavor and drama to the game, and I can't help but wonder about the possibility of expansions that were never realized. Having battle mages and chaos sorcerers with a deck of random spell cards similar to the Ogre's deck of activation cards could have made the game even more eventful and exciting. It's a real shame that the game never got this kind of official support.
I wonder why, because I mean, it was popular back home. I remember when it was sold at this, like we went to this board game center. They were selling like miniatures, board games, Lego, that kind of shop. It was really big. And when we saw the box art was so beautiful. When we saw the box, we're like, ooh, we need to buy this. It was a little expensive for us at the time, but I remember that we paid it like half each, half my family, half my cousin's family. And so we could afford it. And then the Imperials were mine and the Chaos Forces were my cousin. That's how we split it. And we had a lot of fun with it before moving on to Warhammer. That was
comes with a 5 scenario campaign.
Yes.
We played the first 2 scenarios. I played the Forces of Chaos and my buddy played the Imperial Army. I won the first scenario with an objective of taking control of an Imperial tower and my buddy won the second scenario by wiping out all of my units, thanks to that clutch and highly dramatic late turn onslaught of his mounted knights mentioned above. There is a small amount of progression from one scenario to the next in the form of awarding surviving units an elite status, which allows them to roll 1 extra die in combat. I've always been curious about Battle Masters, and I'm super happy that I was finally able to play it. In my original video for Hero Quest, I mentioned that I never got to play the game when it was released.
Oh, we did. We played Hero Quest. Again, that's another thing. So Battle Master was my introduction to wargaming, and then I moved on to Warhammer and got fixated for years. High Elf main. But then Hero Quest was my introduction to dungeon crawlers, and then we moved to D&D, the original D&D. I'm talking like the one with the red manual. even before Advanced, with the blue one, Expert and whatnot, Advanced D&D and all the rest. So yeah, so that was that. So Hero Quest, we played it a lot. Like, we must have played 50 times Hero Quest before we actually dropped it, because I mean D&D was objectively better as an experience, different experience of course, because Hero Quest is more closer to an actual board game, whereas of course D&D is role-playing game, uses a lot more of your imagination, if you will.
Even though me and all my friends were already highly invested in
Yeah.
RPGs and fantasy tabletop games, I never knew anyone who had Hero Quest, and I never even saw it until years later. This was all very odd considering that we played games like Space Hulk, Space Crusade, Advanced Space Crusade, and Talisman. And the same can be said about Battle Masters. It wasn't until many, many years after its release that I even learned of the game. Both it and Hero Quest were simply off of my gaming radar. But coming to it as an adult allowed me to really appreciate it for what it is. And
I would like to do that. Actually replay it now and see if we can still enjoy it. This was from, again, The Dungeon Dive. Give him a like. Check him out. Appreciated the little nostalgia trip. Thank you for sharing, man. Bye.